The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation.
You know, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, you know, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
This is the most important part. This is right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. So she by saying we should trust them because they're double checked by ABC News, and then making the stupidest statement.
Sonny Holton's husband just got scooped up in a $450 million 0 cents RICO case. And Joe Rogan? Oh, he didn't hold back. In fact, he roasted her so hard, marshmallows filed for emotional support. You won't believe what he said or how Sonny tried to clap back while her house of legal cards came crashing down like it was built by toddlers on espresso. Buckle up, cause this takedown is messier than a Kardashian Thanksgiving. Ready to witness peak humiliation? Before we dive deeper, don't forget to hit that like button if you love drama served fresh, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping breakdowns you won't want to miss.
It has to be, you know, if you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb. I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on, for sure. Sonny's dumb. But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
Sonny Hostin must have had one hell of a morning. You know it's bad when your husband's name trends on Twitter next to words like racketeering, money laundering, and the always fun $450 million 0 cents federal indictment. That's not your average Tuesday. That's not even your average mafia movie plot. That's the kind of Tuesday where your organic smoothie curdles itself out of pure embarrassment.
You're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to some nefarious stuff. Let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures, and look at her track record. How many times has she had to go on in the past 2 months and look at the camera and do a legal apology for all the stuff that she said on the show? And then she also, on Trump's win, calling the loss because of uneducated white women that Trump won.
We have to know that. This is accused.
All accused. Yeah, all accused, but he's in the RICO. This is a big RICO case that her husband's in there.
Tom, what do you...
And just when you thought things couldn't get worse for the queen of condescension herself, enter Joe Rogan, because nothing screams public relations apocalypse quite like getting torched by a bald man in a hoodie whose podcast studio has better acoustics than your lawyer's office. Rogan didn't just roast Sonny, he deep-fried her reputation, served it with a side of mockery, and garnished it with a sprinkle of told you so.
When Tulsi Gabbard got on to defend herself and Joy Behar starts panicking and going over her notes while Tulsi's refuting everything that she said.
Yeah, I mean, Joy Behar, like, again, these people have dementia. These are people who, like, should not be allowed out of the house. They have a national platform. I mean, it is crazy. They have no idea. These people have never read, like, a book.
And there's versions of...
Let's rewind for a second. Emmanuel Hostin, Sonny's husband, previously known as that orthopedic surgeon who tolerates The View on mute, has now ascended to the heights of alleged criminal mastermind in a $450 million 0 cents RICO case. Because why just be a doctor when you can allegedly dabble in organized financial crime, right?
representative of a big constituency? I think probably yes.
Well, a lot of
MSNBC
people,
viewers are probably also thinking,
I don't even think the MSNBC viewers, I think they're a little bit more sophisticated than that.
Yeah.
This is like low information, blue no matter who, like older housewives who are mad at the world. That's the appeal that Whoopi Goldberg has. Does Whoopi have children?
No idea.
The feds came in like it was Black Friday at the Department of Justice. Reports say Emmanuel is tied to a sprawling network of shady clinics, shell companies, and more fraudulent billing than a telehealth startup in a Nicolas Cage movie. They found everything from phantom patients to luxury cars bought with Medicaid fraud. apparently do no harm now includes unless it's to the American taxpayer. And while Sunny was busy lecturing America about integrity, her husband was out there allegedly making Tony Soprano look like a small business owner with bad credit. The irony could fuel the entire East Coast's power grid. But here's where it gets truly golden. Joe Rogan didn't just notice the hypocrisy, he lit it on fire on his podcast. Surrounded by UFC memorabilia and guests with names like Chad from Montana, Rogan gleefully carved Sunny into thin slices of smug. You could practically hear the espresso machine steaming in the background while he roasted her like she was the morning's third cup of overpriced fair trade nonsense. Rogan's takedown was the verbal equivalent of throwing a smoothie at a Tesla. Unexpected, messy, and 100% viral. He zeroed in on Sunny's favorite pastime, scolding the nation with a smug grin while her own house was apparently a crime scene with a kitchen island. You don't need court transcripts when you've got Joe summarizing the situation with more sarcasm than a Reddit comment section.
I've been waiting my whole life for this one. Orthopedic surgeon and husband for The View host Sonny Hostin has been named in a federal lawsuit alleging insurance fraud. She got on television. She got in. She run. These women tell me why she got her husband is named in a lawsuit in insurance fraud. And I'm gonna show you exhibit. Let me say exhibit B. Can you show this to the jury? Roll it, Nick.
You know, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance. And they're talking about threatening him with insurance fraud. I would say you could get about 20 years in prison. So that's a death sentence for him.
It's not just the roast, it's the timing. Sunny, who built an entire on-air persona around being the moral compass of coffee-fueled chaos, suddenly found herself sailing the HMS hypocrisy right into an iceberg of federal charges. And the best part? She still showed up on The View like nothing happened. Imagine walking into your job the day after your spouse is accused of grand-scale racketeering, sitting down and passionately discussing celebrity divorces like you didn't just spend the morning on the phone with your criminal defense attorney. That's some Olympic-level denial. Even the teleprompter was probably like, "Girl, what are we doing?" She tried to keep it cool, head held high, lips tight, looking like a woman who spent all night deleting WhatsApp messages. But the internet doesn't forget, and neither does Rogan. He pointed out what the rest of us were already laughing at. When the people yelling loudest about ethics get caught up in a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme, the only appropriate response is to pop popcorn and enjoy the downfall. And what a downfall it is. Federal prosecutors have receipts, emails, transactions, witness testimonies. This isn't a flimsy tabloid headline.
But she's ideologically captured.
Right.
You know, that's sort of, I think the other ones there's a couple of the other ones don't have to name any names, who are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart but captured.
Sure, I think she came into it with an agenda.
Of course,
you know,
they do everything with an agenda.
Yeah,
you know,
This is a full-course legal buffet with Sunny's last nerve as the dessert. If convicted, Emmanuel isn't just looking at fines and house arrest. He could be trading his orthopedic scrubs for a jumpsuit with numbers on the front. Meanwhile, ABC seems to be playing their usual game of, let's pretend this isn't happening, because nothing says journalistic integrity like ignoring the massive, blinking red scandal attached to one of your star panelists. Maybe they're hoping if they talk about Taylor Swift's new album enough, we'll forget that someone's spouse allegedly ran a billing scheme so complex it needed a PowerPoint presentation to explain it. Now, let's talk about the reactions. The online mob didn't disappoint. Twitter turned into a firing squad with punchlines and memes dropped faster than legal summons, and through it all, Joe Rogan kept fueling the fire like a man who just got handed a golden ticket of hypocrisy. Because here's the thing, Joe lives for this. You give him a mainstream media personality who spent years pretending to be the nation's conscience while harboring a ticking time bomb at home. That's Rogan's Super Bowl. That's his full moon. That's his reason for waking up and opening a mic. He didn't have to twist the knife, he just held it up and let it reflect the absurdity.
This is the most important part. This is right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. So she by saying we should trust them because they're double checked by ABC News, and then making the stupidest statement. Like you didn't listen to what I said.
Yeah.
You didn't listen to what the wildlife biologist, and that's only a part of what he said.
Sunny, who once treated The View like her personal courtroom, now finds herself on the other end of the gavel. The same person who clutched her pearls at political missteps is now ducking under her own collapsing moral scaffolding. The best part? Her on-air demeanor. Oh, the performance! You could practically smell the desperation wafting through the studio. Overcompensating like her teleprompter was wired to a lie detector. Smiling too hard, speaking too fast. Over-articulating every sentence like it might deflect a subpoena. It was daytime Emmy-worthy in its delusion. And don't forget the passive-aggressive tap dancing. You know, the I'm just gonna power through energy, like a soccer mom who just learned her kid set fire to the PTA fundraiser but still has to host book club. It was an art form, a slow-motion train wreck wrapped in a blazer and a forced grin. But let's zoom out. This isn't just about Sunny Hostin's personal implosion, it's a microcosm of the elite media echo chamber that preaches morality while quietly dipping its toe into chaos. The View isn't journalism, it's a brunch brawl in HD. And Sunny was its self-appointed ethics czar until now? Because when your moral compass points directly to federal prison, maybe it's time to stop acting like the nation's therapist. Maybe America doesn't need life advice from someone whose living room may double as an FBI evidence locker. Just a thought.
You get people thinking, like, if you could stop Hitler by any means necessary, wouldn't you stop Hitler? And so they equate Donald Trump with Hitler and go, here you go, this is our modern Hitler. Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it because it's so
on TV.
crazy.
She said
on television.
Of course, The View isn't going to touch this scandal with a 10-foot manicure. If they do mention it, it'll be buried in vague legalese and nervous laughter. Because admitting this level of hypocrisy would be like eating crow with avocado toast, it doesn't go down easy. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan's audience is thriving. They love this. They live for this. They're the ones who never trusted the talking heads in the first place. The ones who watch The View like it's a cautionary tale for cognitive dissonance. And now they're watching the queen bee of moral outrage squirm under the heat lamp like a reptile with a fake PhD. This isn't just a PR disaster, it's a masterclass in self-inflicted damage. You spend years building your brand around being the conscience of the nation, and your spouse turns out to be allegedly laundering money like it's a hobby. That's the kind of twist M. Night Shyamalan would reject for being too on the nose. If Emmanuel Hostin goes down, Sunny's credibility doesn't just take a hit, it becomes the Titanic in Joe Rogan. He'll be on the podcast deck playing the violin while the whole thing sinks. So now, the million-dollar question, well, technically the $450 million 0 cents question, is what happens next? Spoiler alert, this isn't the kind of scandal where you walk off with a sad tweet and a tearful, we're asking for privacy.
Show is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in, you know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her, and you know they did that with Meghan McCain, and they did that with the what is that other blonde woman from Survivor? Do you remember her, Jamie? She was always yelling. I mean, it's just it's a bizarre show. I think the way you before you start, I think the way you described it is brilliant, and the way we should all look at it. Of course, you're going to see race. The idea of being colorblind is ridiculous. But treat everybody. They're just human beings.
Yeah.
Everybody's just individuals.
Now, when the letters RICO get tossed around, it means the feds are no longer playing checkers. They've whipped out the chessboard, the timer, and a forensic accountant named Stan who hasn't smiled since 1998. Let's be clear, RICO charges are not the legal equivalent of oops. They're what the government uses when someone allegedly builds a criminal enterprise. So, elaborate. It needs its own HR department. It's not about a bad billing code here or a missing invoice there. This is racketeering, conspiracy, fraud, the kind of stuff that turns orthopedic surgeons into cautionary tales and wives into walking PR disasters. If convicted, Emmanuel Hostin isn't going to pay a fine and go back to golfing. He's going to need to memorize his inmate number and get real comfortable with beige jumpsuits. And Sunny? Oh, Sunny. This is more than just awkward dinner conversation territory. This is career imploding, brand destroy. Maybe I should move to Europe with a new name level Fallout. ABC is probably in full-on DEFCON 1 mode right now. Somewhere, a crisis communications intern is hyperventilating into a Chanel tote bag while a producer screams, "Do we have Whoopi's replacement monologue ready? Professionally?" Sunny is tap dancing on a minefield. Every time she opens her mouth on The View, there's a non-nano chance the audience starts laughing, not at her jokes, but at the sheer audacity. Can she keep telling America how to live their lives when her own house allegedly needed a search warrant and a priest?
The View co-host Sunny Hostin's husband, Emmanuel Hostin, has been accused of federal insurance fraud. According to a new lawsuit obtained by Page Six, the orthopedic surgeon was one of 200 defendants named in one of the biggest racketeer influenced and corrupt organization cases ever filed in New York. Emmanuel was accused of federal insurance fraud and, quote, getting kickbacks by performing surgery and billing a company that insured taxi companies and Uber and Lyft drivers. According to the documents, he knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services, including arthroscopic surgeries. The insurance firm, American Transit, was then billed in exchange for kickbacks and other compensation, which were disguised as dividends or other cash distributions.
There's already a growing chorus on social media calling for her to step down, take a sabbatical, or at least stop talking like she's above it all. Public opinion isn't just turning, it's spinning like a carousel on meth, because when America smells hypocrisy, they pounce like it's Shark Week and the water just turned red. And Joe Rogan? Oh, he's having the time of his life. This isn't just a scandal to him. It's a sequel, Joe versus The View Reloaded. He's been dunking on daytime TV hosts for years, calling them fake intellectuals with glam squads and cue cards. And now, he's got Sunny Hostin gift-wrapped in a federal indictment. That's like Christmas and a UFC title fight rolled into one. He's not just roasting Sunny, he's turning the whole institution of performative media elites into his personal comedy club. This scandal isn't just an oopsie for The View, it's a symbol, a burning effigy of what happens when moral high horses trip over federal charges. Because if there's one thing America loves more than a rise to fame, it's a good old-fashioned tumble off a sanctimonious pedestal. Especially when the person falling had a stylist, a publicist, and a platform to mock everyone else. You can already predict the next steps. Legal teams will get louder. Sunny will lean harder into the strong woman narrative. ABC will continue pretending their studio isn't on fire, and Joe Rogan will pour another cup of coffee, look into the mic, and say something like, "I mean, come on." And we will come on. We'll tune in not just for the scandal, but for the schadenfreude, because it's not every day that the sanctimonious elite get pantsed on national television. Figuratively, of course. Though at this rate, nothing's off the table. So, here's the grand takeaway. When you spend years wagging your finger at the rest of us, make sure there's not a $450 million 0 cents fraud indictment waiting to backhand you mid-sentence. And if there is, pray Joe Rogan doesn't hear about it too late.